Hi everyone, thanks so much for being here. My name is Kat and I make houseplant videos here on Good and Planty. If you just so happen to absolutely love this video, please consider liking it, commenting, subscribing, or following me on Instagram. All of these things help me grow my channel like a plant. Today we are talking about the spider plant again. I do have an entire care guide out on how I take care of spider plants in my home. If you haven't checked it out yet, I will link it up above, but I know a lot of you have found me through that video. This video is gonna be sort of like a follow-up and a more in detail look at how to propagate spider plants, because when I made that original video I didn't have any pups, so I couldn't really talk about it super clearly or do a demo. I'm gonna be going over 3 methods and I want to start with my favorite one, which is water propagation. This plant is pregnant, so I have lots of spider plants to choose from. I would look for a medium to large sized pup on the plant to work with. I have some examples of what I would consider medium and large spider plants. Those are going to be able to push out roots and establish themselves a lot faster than the very, very baby spider plant pups that you should just give a little bit more time to develop before cutting them off. The mama plant will push out these little stalks basically that hold the pups. So you just want to follow that stalk down to a little baby and make a snip on the stalk. And that will leave you with a cute little pup. And literally all you have to do for water propagation is take that pup and just put it in some water. It's gonna be a little bit awkward with this method because the pups usually have leaves on the bottom where the roots are gonna push out of. That is the part that you want submerged in water during propagation. But there's probably gonna be a few little leaves that stick themselves into the water. That's okay. If they start to rot, just remove them. I would say probably maybe 2 weeks until you start seeing serious root growth. If not, just give it some time, be a little bit patient, but spider plants do tend to push out really healthy, thick roots pretty quickly. I do recommend using distilled water because, as I said in my care video, their roots are a little bit sensitive to minerals found in a lot of people's tap water. I'm not like crazy particular about that. This plant is in my tap water right now. You might just get some crispy leaves. I'm willing to pay that price for laziness, so that's just me. But if you want to be like the best plant parent ever, go ahead and put your propagations in some distilled water. While your baby is propagating in that water, you can go ahead and change out that water at least once a week probably. And also just keep an eye on the plant to make sure that that base that we talked about is submerged in water the entire time, because you don't want it drying out. You don't want any baby roots drying out. So if you have to just kind of top off the container a little bit every few days, just go ahead and do that. I would keep this little situation in bright indirect light. I don't do anything wild. Honestly, these plants root without any enormous amount of humidity. I just like to make sure that they do have some light to get energy and push out those roots. Once your plant has pushed out roots, that it'll depend a little bit on the pup size, but I usually recommend like around 2 or 3 inches long, and maybe even pushing out some secondary roots, which is the roots that come off of the main bigger root. That's when you can go ahead and pot up your propagation. To do that, I like to pot up my plants in the mix that I use for basically all of my plants. I will link the video that I have on that, but basically it's just a very airy, chunky mix, and I go ahead and pop up the propagation in that mix, and then I keep the soil moist for about 2 weeks in that same like bright but indirect light condition. Once you kind of pull up on the plant and it doesn't really like give away or wobble too much, you know that the roots have taken to the soil and you're on your way to having a monster spider plant. So that is the deal with water propagation. And it is my favorite way. I think that it's really nice to be able to see all of the roots coming in. You can monitor everything. And I don't know, I find it so low maintenance and easy and clear. So this is my favorite propagation method. The next propagation method I want to talk about is soil propagating. For that, again, you follow the stalk down to a pup and then you make a cut there and then you will have your little spider plant propagation. And then for that plant, what you want to do is fill up a pot with the same airy soil that I talked about earlier. And then you just honestly plop the plant into that soil mixture, and then again keep that soil moist for about 2 weeks. And it's a little bit less visually clear because it's not in the clear glass with the clear water where you can see everything that's happening. But again, if you tug at the plant and it's not really giving out or wobbling, you know that the plant has probably taken to the soil. I have not had success this way. Personally, I have found success with water propagating a bit better. Both of the spider plants that I got as propagations, unrooted propagations, I rooted through water. Initially, I was trying soil propagation, but it was not working out for me. However, with all that being said, my friends have plenty of success with soil propagating their spider plants. I think it's all about just trial and error and seeing what works for you. But this is also a pretty easy and simple propagation method. Okay, and then the last propagation, okay, let me put these down. The last propagation method is one that is definitely involved, but is going to give you the fastest and most reliable results, I guess I'll say. But it takes some work, and that is going to be root division, which I often avoid demonstrating on my channel because you have to repot your plants if you want to do it this way, and not all of my plants need that. But this plant, this giant mama plant, absolutely needs a repot. So I figured that I could actually show the process of root division now with this plant. The concept of root division is you have a big mama plant with a bunch of different crowns in one pot. And what root division essentially means is that you are going to just take one of those crowns away from the pot and pot it up separately to be its own plant. So you're just taking an established plant from one pot to another, and yes, that is a way of propagating the spider plant. Again, obviously, because you're taking an established plant out from the mother plant, it is a pretty reliable and quick way to propagate, but I fear that it's gonna be quite involved. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the mama, and I'm gonna remove her little hanging basket wires, and then we're gonna get into repotting so I can show you in detail exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so we are back, and here I have a pot that I think is good enough to hold this plant, and I put a base layer that's probably like a few inches deep of my soil mixture in this pot, so we're all ready to go. This is the pot that I bought it in from the nursery, and I just don't know much about the soil or anything like that, so ooh. Oh my gosh. Oh no. I hate when this happens. Hold on. Do you see how the roots, I hope you can see that, the roots have grown around the plastic bottom of the nursery pot? Oh, when that happens, it's such a headache. Okay, let's see. Maybe it's not gonna be that bad, but usually it's a little bit of a headache. But you can see how root bound this plant was. And what I have learned is that a root bound plant is gonna produce a lot of pups, but I didn't want it to grow so much over this plastic bottom that this is what I was afraid of, that I could not like repot it safely in the future. So all I'm gonna do is just gently tug at the roots and sort of like break them away from, well, not break them, but like nudge them away from the plastic bottom, and I'm gonna try to save as many roots as I can. Obviously, I think I'm gonna lose a little bit just because it is so deep. The plastic base is so deep in this root ball. I found the crown that I want to take out. I actually don't want to actually root divide this plant. I will end up potting them all back up together. I'm just trying to do a good demo. So I'm looking for a smaller piece to kind of remove from the mother plant, and I found one on the outskirts here, and it's a smaller crown. There's no baby, there's no stalks attached to it, so I think that it'll be a little bit more of a simple removal, and I'm just gonna go ahead and start wiggling it out. I quit. I honestly quit. I can't do it. My number one tip for root division is to not root divide a plant that is this root bound, because it's like impossible. So unfortunately I didn't pick the best demo plant, but essentially you just break away the soil until you can take a piece of the plant off. I got lucky and there's this little baby plant right here, and you can tell by the roots it was actually growing in the soil already. So this is a root division, okay? It's not as dramatic as I wanted it to be or what I've been working for the last like 30 minutes, but this is technically a root division plant. It's got roots, it was growing in the pot, and then I was able to separate it from the mother plant. So as much as I wanted to remove this whole entire crown, I think I would have ended up harming the plant more than helping. And that is typically why I don't do root division demonstrations. So, yeah, we kind of failed today, but not really, because I still have that root division. Anyway, if you are root dividing a regular plant that isn't extremely root bound, which again, I don't recommend you doing. I got this far because what I did was I started with like the thicker root pieces. If you follow the thicker, fleshier roots and you start nudging at those a little bit first, you can slowly make way to the little bit of thinner roots. I'm not super regretful that I went and like loosened up the roots. I think that this plant really needed that. So I don't regret what I did, but I know that if I took it any further, I would honestly be doing way more harm than good. This plant basically fell out, so I was like, oh, perfect, we're done. Yeah, that's kind of my advice, to start with the thicker roots and slowly nudge those away. Be super patient. Again, I was doing this for 30 minutes and I still didn't get to the end goal that I wanted. You're gonna lose tons of these little baby secondary roots. That is fine. Do not stress about that. That's okay. Just be more careful with the thicker roots. But these plants are very resilient when it comes to their roots. So if you kind of like snip off a few, don't panic. It's gonna be okay. Your biggest threat at that point is rot. Anyway, I loosened up my plant and I'm just gonna put it in the pot. Come on. Please. There we go. And oh my god, I also don't recommend root division for anyone living in an apartment. Like seriously, it's not worth it. The pups are fine. This video is just now like an anti-root division video. Anyway, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and backfill this plant real quick. It'll be 2 seconds. Hello. Oh my god, this is the most chaotic video I think I've ever recorded in my life. With this, just pot it up exactly how we potted up the soil propagation, same airy soil. Just stick it in there and keep it moist for 2 weeks. That's what I would do to root divide, kind of. Hopefully you have some takeaways from this. Basically, just find a plant that is not overly root bound, step 1. Step 2, find a crown that you want to remove. Step 3, gently remove the crown from the mother plant by playing with the roots and loosening them. And then step 4 would be to repot the divided plant into that chunky, airy soil that I talked about and keep it moist for 2 weeks in bright and direct light. Sorry that you had to watch all of that chaos just for those 4 steps. But if you're like me and you start the plant project and you're like, why the did I do this? You're not alone. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it entertaining. Maybe some of you will find it comforting if you're going through a chaotic repot yourselves. I really appreciate you all watching. If you have any questions about this process, which I'm sure you do because what just happened, please drop them down below in the comment section. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more planty content from me. Click that notification bell, like this video, comment down below, check out my merch, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!